Hello and welcome to our Hogue Metastatic Breast Cancer podcast for March 2022. And we will be continuing on the journey of focusing on Thich Nhat Hanh's book, No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering. If you're tuning in and you've missed any of our previous podcasts, you can access them all on the Hogue YouTube channel. Today's intention is focused on chapter 5 of this book, which is titled 5 Practices for Nurturing Happiness. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that we don't have to wait for the end of all suffering before we can be happy. As you've all been aware from those of you that have been listening to this series, we've talked a lot about transforming our suffering, and we have so much of it. Happiness is available to us right here and right now, but we may need to change our idea of happiness. Our idea of happiness may itself be the main obstacle keeping us from true happiness. There are oysters living in the depths of the sea, and they don't have any eyes. They have never seen the blue sky or the stars. We have eyes. We can see the beautiful sky above us, but we often don't appreciate what we have. Most of the time, we just ignore it. There are more conditions of happiness available than you and I can count, many more than it takes to make us happy in the here and the now. If you're able to read a book, to read and understand these words, you are already much luckier than many people. So what is the difference between joy and happiness? We can experience both joy and happiness, and Buddhist teachings do make a distinction between the two. In joy, there is still some element of excitement. Think of a person walking in the desert who has run out of drinking water. If suddenly that person sees that there is an oasis ahead, trees with beautiful shade, and a lake of fresh water, they will feel joy. When they arrive at the lake and actually cup the water and drink it, this is happiness. You can experience both. The method here is simple. Breathing in, you're going to bring your mind home to your body, establish yourself in the here and now, and recognize what is around you. Then joy and happiness arise easily from your recognition of all the positive elements available right now. And we will end our podcast for this month with a very simplistic practice that you can do throughout the month of March. So Thich Nhat Hanh teaches us that the first practice for nurturing happiness is letting go. The first method of creating joy and happiness is to cast off, to leave behind. There is a kind of joy that comes from letting go. Many of us are bound to so many things. We believe these things are necessary for our survival, our security, and our happiness. But many of these things, or more precisely, our beliefs about their utter necessity, are really obstacles for our joy and happiness. Sometimes you think that having a certain career, diploma, salary, house, or partner is crucial for your happiness. You think you can't go on without it. Even when you have achieved that situation or are with that person, you continue to suffer. At the same time, you're still afraid that if you let go of that prize you've attained, it will be even worse. You will be even more miserable without the object you are clinging to. You can't live with it, and you can't live without it. If you come to look deeply into your fearful attachment, you will realize that it is in fact the very obstacle to your joy and happiness. You have the capacity to let it go. Letting go takes a lot of courage sometimes, but once you let go, happiness comes very quickly. You won't have to go around searching for it. Imagine you're a city dweller taking a weekend trip out to the countryside. If you live in a big metropolis, there's a lot of noise, dust, pollution, and odors, but also a lot of opportunities and excitement. One day a friend coaxes you into getting away for a couple of days. At first you may say, "I can't, I have too much work. I might miss an important call." But finally, he convinces you to leave, and an hour or two later, you find yourself in the countryside. You see open space, you see the sky, and you feel the breeze on your cheeks. Happiness is born from the fact that you could leave the city behind. If you hadn't left, how could you experience that kind of joy? You needed to let go. The next practice is what Thich Nhat Hanh refers to as releasing your cows. One day the Buddha was sitting with some of his monks in the woods. They had just come back from an alms round and were ready to share a mindful lunch together. A farmer passed by looking distraught. He asked the Buddha, "Monks, have you seen some cows going by here?" "What cows?" the Buddha responded. "Well," the man said, "I have 4 cows and I don't know why, but this morning they all ran away. I also have 2 acres of sesame. This year the insects ate the entire crop. I have lost everything, my harvest and my cows. I feel like killing myself." The Buddha said, "Dear friend, we have been sitting here almost an hour and we have not seen any cows passing by. Maybe you should go and look in the other direction." When the farmer was gone, the Buddha looked at his friends and smiled knowingly. "Dear friends, you are very lucky," he said. "You don't have any cows to lose." I knew a rich woman living in New York City who purchased a piece of land adjacent to her building. She wanted to build a huge apartment complex on the land and then sell it so she could make a lot of money. A friend came to visit her and stood looking out the window. It had a beautiful view of the George Washington Bridge and a lot of blue sky. The friend turned to the woman who had bought the land and said, "Don't build the apartment complex. If you do, you won't have this beautiful view anymore. Your neighbors won't have a view anymore. You'll no longer see the blue sky and the river. You only need to stand here and look, and already you can have happiness. What is the use of having more money and losing all that beauty and happiness?" The woman was able to hear this and changed her plans for the building, releasing 1 big cow thanks to the wise counsel of a friend. One of the biggest cows that we have is our narrow idea of happiness. You may suffer just because of your idea, and you continue to suffer until one day you are capable of releasing the idea, and right away you feel happy. A whole country can be caught in a single cow. A nation of hundreds of millions may believe that such and such ideology is crucial for the country to become a big power in the world, and that superpower status is essential to the people's happiness. So they invest everything in that ideology and insist it is the best way, the only way. Countries can hold on to their cows for hundreds of years, and during that time the people suffer a lot. Then finally, one day, the country may be open to change and discover that it actually works better and creates more happiness when it's run a different way. Every one of us has an idea of happiness that can become too entrenched, too rigid. Every one of us has cows to be released. Consider practicing to release your cows. Take a piece of paper and write down the names of your cows, the things you think of as crucial for your well-being. Perhaps this week you can start by releasing just 1, perhaps 2, or perhaps each one takes a year or more. The more cows you release, the more joyful and happy you become. The second practice is inviting positive seeds. We each have many kinds of seeds lying deep in our consciousness. Those we water are the ones that sprout, coming up into our awareness and manifesting outwardly. So in our own consciousness, there is hell and there is also paradise. We are capable of being compassionate, understanding, and joyful. If we pay attention only to the negative things in us, especially the suffering of past hurts, we are wallowing in our sorrows and not getting any positive nourishment. We can practice appropriate attention, watering the wholesome qualities in us by touching the positive things that are always available inside and around us. That is good food for our mind. One way of taking care of our suffering is to invite a seed of the opposite nature to come up. As nothing exists without its opposite, if you have a seed of arrogance, you also have a seed of compassion. Every one of us has a seed of compassion. If you practice mindfulness of compassion every day, the seed of compassion in you will become strong. You need only concentrate on it and it will come up as a powerful zone of energy. Naturally, when compassion comes up, arrogance goes down. You don't have to fight it or push it down. We can selectively water the good seeds and refrain from watering the negative seeds. This doesn't mean we ignore our suffering. It just means that we allow the positive seeds that are naturally there and may not be getting enough attention to receive more attention and nourishment. So as you progress through the month of March, I want you to really consider adopting two practices. One is what we talked about in Intention 1, which was the first practice of letting go and releasing cows. So each day I want you to write on a piece of paper 1 or 2 names of your cows that you think of as crucial for your well-being. And perhaps each day and each week of this month, you can start by releasing just one of these cows or more. Or perhaps each one takes a longer time. Let's not rush it. Let's begin to work with one cow that we can release in order to become more joyful and happy. And our second practice for this month is going to be a very simplistic breathwork practice. So wherever you are, I want you to bring your attention to your breath in this moment. Gently releasing all of the air from the lungs. And then breathing in, bring your mind home to your body. Establishing yourself in the here and the now, and recognizing what is around you in this moment. So breathing in, you're bringing your breath to connect with your body and mind, firmly establishing yourself in the present moment, in the here and the now, and just taking a few moments to recognize what is within you, what is around you. And from this place, joy and happiness can arise more easily. And from this recognition of all the positive elements available to you right now in this moment. So much of our suffering and unhappiness comes from thinking about the past, playing that same sad old tape that we all have, or projecting often negatively into the future. And for all of you as metastatic breast cancer patients living with metastatic breast cancer, it might be easy to project. And perhaps those projections are negative. So I want you all in the coming month to fully and wholly embrace the joy, the beauty, and the peace that is available to you in each and every present moment. Because honestly, that is all that we have. We can't change the past, not even what happened 5 minutes ago. And we can't predict the future. The past 2 years has clearly illustrated that. But what we can control is the now. Our thoughts in the now, our mind in the now, the physical body in the now. And that's what I really want you to focus on for the coming month. I hope that you'll join us for our metastatic breast cancer group that we have coming up in March. And I wish you all a safe and happy and peaceful and joyous month ahead.